Today, I'm going to show how you can add advanced security features, advanced authentication, and much more very easily in any application using the Auth0 platform. We're going to start with a very simple app. My app, all it does, it's a website that generates random numbers. Let's take a look at the code that does this. For this, I'm going to use Node.js. Node.js, it's a very popular framework for building websites, widely adopted, and uses the JavaScript language as the main language for a runtime. So just to prove that this is actually running, we're going to generate random numbers from 0 to 100. Save, run again, there you go, 64, random. If I refresh, every time I refresh on my screen, I see a new random number being generated. Great, I have an app running. Now that I have an app running, I need to add authentication to protect access to my site. I am going to add authentication to make sure that users are legitimate users of this site and not anonymous. So I create sign up, create a new account, and the first thing I will see is the creation of an account. The next thing I will do is just to connect it with my app. And for that I go create an application, and then I'm presented with this question. What technology are you using for your project? And there's a lot of technologies that developers use in the world for creating applications. There's .NET developers, there's Java developers, there's Node.js developers, JavaScript developers like myself. And I click on there. So I have two paths here, and guess what? I already have an application. I know how to code in Node.js, so I follow that tutorial. And then there's a specific instruction on how to integrate Auth0 with my app. It looks like I need to install a module. I install the module, and then there's code that I need to paste into my system, to my own system, to make that connection happen. Conveniently, the code is there, and conveniently too, there is a copy-paste little button on the dashboard that I can use. So I did that, copy, I go back to my code, and I will add the code from Auth0. And also, very conveniently, all the configuration of my Auth0 account, it's already included in this code snippet. So now, to make things a little bit more interesting, when a user logs in, I see who this user is. So now I want to save this again. All these changes are committed into my code. I go back to the website, to my website, and if I click on give me a random number, voila! Now I don't get a random number. What I get is a login screen, which is exactly what I wanted. So now I can enter a username and a password, and I can click continue to log in into my application. I'm logged in, I see my email, and I still see my random numbers being generated, which is awesome. If you notice here, some policies for passwords are being presented, which is awesome. Go back to the dashboard, go to authentication methods, and go to this username and password authentication. And I see this password policy section, which is where things were set up. I can request special characters, special length, and Auth0 guides me and tells me whether it's good, fair, bad. All of that guidance is embedded in here, which is awesome, really easy to use. But that's not the only thing they give me. There's also this password history for preventing reuse of passwords that you used in the past, which is great. It also allows me to check against the 10,000 most common passwords that people use wrongfully in all systems. Like number one is password, the word password. But other ones that are like, you could argue that are more difficult to guess. Well, with one checkbox, I can go and see and make sure that nobody is using passwords that are weak. What else can I do? I hear that security is important and these are good methods, but another mechanism for assuring that customers are who they say they are, my users are who they say they are, I can do things like multi-factor authentication. And thankfully, there's a section under security where I can go, it's multi-factor authentication, and I'm presented with tons of options, many options there. There's all kinds of ways you can add a second factor authentication into your app. So for this demo, I'm going to choose a simple one. These are one-time passwords. These are the codes that are generated in a device, numbers that change over time. That's common and popular and reasonably secure to add to your systems. All I need to do is turn the switch on in my Auth0 account and then say for under which circumstances I want MFA to be enabled. I'm going to say always. Now I'm not going to make any distinction. So turn that on. Now that rule is enabled in my account. Let's go back to my system, log out again, and let's see what happens. So I log out. I'm presented back to my login screen. I log in with let's say my username and password. If I can type, go ahead, and now, voila, there's another screen in there that says verify your identity and enter your one-time code. Of course, I enrolled my application in my account earlier today, and I'm going to be using Okta Verify. Okta Verify is one of the many apps you can use to generate these standards-based one-time passwords. And so in this case, for my account, let's see if I can type correctly, 931-237, that's a one-time code. And there you go, I'm logged in again, now with MFA included in my app. So now I'm doubly protected. There's an account, the strong account, and there's also an MFA challenge that is being presented to me, which of course happens only once in this case. Great, with that done now. And of course, in this case, I'm enabling this always, so all the time, every time you logged in, which is of course not convenient. For user experience reasons, you might want to tweak how you do that. You might turn that using adaptive MFA. So only when certain conditions change, I'm in a different network, I'm in a different city, I'm using a different device. All of that is included in the box in Auth0 for you. Zero code changes in my application. In these few minutes, I showed you from nothing to the most advanced authentication features in the world with zero effort with Auth0. Thank you.